Hello and welcome to EduBridge IS. I'm Vishal Singh and we are starting a new series on modern Indian history. This is the introductory lecture to this series. Now, before I begin this series, I'm going to ask you a very simple question, जो कि मैं अपनी हर क्लास में पूछता हूँ कि what is history? Students give me a number of different answers. The most common answer is it is the study of the past. ठीक है? So is this definition sufficient? Obviously it is not. देखो, study of the past अगर हम बोलते हैं तो past is very vast. Universe का formation हुआ 14.5 billion years ago. The earth was formed roughly around 4.5 billion years ago. Mammals appeared on the scene around 65 million years ago, and humans first appeared only around 200,000 years ago, that is 2 lakh years ago. So this is the part of the past that we must concern ourselves with. That part जब humans appear होते हैं, इसके पहले वाला जितना भी portion है वो history के लिए relevant नहीं है. तो अब कुछ लोग बोलते हैं इस explanation के बाद that history is the study of the human past. So is this also sufficient? My question to you is that when you are going to write your own biography, तो आप भी अपने पास्ट के कुछ इवेंट्स को रिकाउंट करने की कोशिश करेंगे, राइट? अब आपका पास्ट जब से आप पैदा हुए हैं और अभी प्रेजेंट तक सब कुछ कवर कर रहा है. इट इज ऑल्सो गोइंग टू कवर व्हाट यू हैड फॉर डिनर लास्ट नाइट, बट इज दैट गोइंग टू बी पार्ट ऑफ योर बुक? हाँ, अगर आप अपनी शादी का डिनर खा रहे हो तो probably it is going to be part of your book. That tells you that it is only the significant events which are part of history. Now, if you scale it up to the civilizational level, history को आप बोल सकते हैं that it is the study of significant human events of the past. लेकिन is simply the studying of significant human events of the past sufficient to have a good understanding of history? तो देखो, the study of such events in isolation does not serve any substantial purpose. इसका कोई फायदा नहीं होगा अगर आप हर इवेंट को अलग-अलग पढ़ते हैं. In order to fully appreciate the weight of history, we must also investigate the causal relationship between these events. ठीक है? तो ये जो events हैं एक दूसरे से interconnected हैं, linked हैं. How? Because these events have a cause and effect relationship with each other. Further, we must also study the effect of these events. If we do this, we will find that they are linked to each other, and thus the study of the sequence of events becomes very important. और ये sequential study of historical events को क्या बोलते हैं? It is known as the chronological analysis of events. The word chronology is a combination of the word chronos, which in Greek means time, and logy means study, right? So it is a time-bound sequential study of the significant human events of the past. For example, let us take one episode of history. Great Revolt of 1857. सबने पढ़ा होगा, but उसका मतलब क्या है कि 1857 में एक रिवोल्ट हुआ. क्या ये जानना sufficient है? Do we not need to know what the background of that revolt was and what the effect that the revolt had? That is also very important. For example, it was a watershed movement in Indian history. It was the culmination of a long line of tribal and civilian uprisings which had been taking place in India ever since the establishment of British rule. The exploitative and colonial nature of the British rule had led to widespread disenchantment among the Indian people, including the British Indian soldiers. And it was their anger which had led to the outpouring of violence in this Great Revolt of 1857. इसका result क्या हुआ? That it led to the end of the company's rule in India and the establishment of the direct rule of the British Crown in India. There were also a number of significant administrative and political changes which were undertaken in order to prevent such an uprising in the future by the British government. So my point once again कि in isolation अगर हम 1857 के रिवोल्ट को देखें तो it just seems कि हाँ एक रिवोल्ट हुआ था, but until and unless we connect it with the events of the past and the events of the future, we will not be able to get a good grasp of history. So history actually है क्या? It is the chronological study of the significant human events of the past. चलिए, ठीक है, अब ये तो हमने समझ लिया कि हिस्ट्री क्या है. Now let us look at the importance of history for the UPSC Civil Services examination. Every year in the preliminary examination, on an average, 15 questions are asked from Indian history. तो Indian history में आपका ancient history भी आ जाएगा, medieval history भी आ जाएगा और modern history भी आ जाएगा. इन तीनों को मिला करके roughly 15 questions are asked every year since 2011 to the last year, right? तो 11 से लेकर 17 questions तक पूछे जाते हैं. The bulk of these, that is around 60% of these questions, are from modern Indian history. On an average from modern history, Indian national movement, freedom struggle and modern history. Mains में भी इसका काफी importance होता है. History in your mains examination is part of the GS paper 1, जो कि 250 marks का होता है. And on an average every year, questions worth around 100 marks or 40% of the entire paper are from history, right? Paper 1 में 3 subjects होते हैं, history, society and geography, out of which 40% weightage on an average is from history. A good understanding of history is also going to help you in other papers. How? Because a good grasp on history allows you to understand and appreciate contemporary developments, political institutions, social beliefs and practices, economic structures and human interactions. तो आपके पेपर 1 में तो इसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट है ही, पेपर 2 में भी, पेपर 3 में भी और पेपर 4 में भी इसका इम्पैक्ट होगा. अगर आपको अच्छी हिस्ट्री की अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, you will be able to write good answers in all the papers. It will lend depth to your answers in all papers, including the essay and ethics paper. Right. Now, हमने देखा कि एग्जामिनेशन के लिए इसका क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है हिस्ट्री का. लेट अस सी कि सिविल सर्वेंट्स को हिस्ट्री का ज्ञान होना इंपॉर्टेंट क्यों है. What is the major role of the civil servants? To govern the people. And in order to provide effective governance, civil servants must know and understand those that they govern. तो जिनको गवर्न करना है उनको समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. उनके होप्स, एस्पिरेशंस, कस्टम्स, बिलीव्स, ट्रेडिशंस, मोटिवेशंस एटसेट्रा अगर सिविल सर्वेंट्स नहीं समझेंगे तो अच्छी पॉलिसीज नहीं डिजाइन कर सकते. और ये समझने के लिए हिस्ट्री की स्टडी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाती है. इट अलाउज गवर्नेंस टू बी सेंसिटिव, रिस्पॉन्सिव एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबल. अगर हिस्ट्री का अच्छा ज्ञान नहीं होगा तो these policies that the civil servants design are going to be insensitive, unresponsive and irresponsible. Clear है? Right. Further, एक बहुत famous saying है that those who do not learn from history are bound to repeat it. This is very relevant, especially for civil servants. Why? Because they play a major role in shaping government policy. If they have an incomplete understanding of the past, their policy decisions will certainly be flawed. Right. Now let us look at how when did the modern age begin in India. तो modern age India में कब start हुआ? आप अलग-अलग किताबों को उठा के देखेंगे, वो उनकी starting date अलग-अलग है. हैं सारी मॉडर्न इंडिया की किताबें, लेकिन कोई किताब 1707 से शुरू हो रही है, दैट इज द डेथ ऑफ औरंगजेब. अगर आप शेखर बंदोपाध्याय की किताब उठा के पढ़ते हैं तो इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम 1757, बैटल ऑफ प्लासी. बिपिन चंद्रा की किताब उठा के पढ़ते हैं, इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम 1857. सुमित सरकार की किताब उठा के पढ़ते हैं, इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम 1885. तो व्हाट इज द एक्चुअल डेट? तो यहाँ पे मैं आपको एक चीज बता दूं, क्लियर कर दूं कि whenever a society is transforming from the medieval to the modern age, this transformation is never instant. ऐसा नहीं है that you snap your fingers and रातों रात medieval age खत्म हो जाएगी और modern age शुरू हो जाएगी. It is always going to be a long drawn process that can last over several centuries. In the case of India, it is generally accepted that this process began in the 18th century and started speeding up in the 19th century. अब अगर आप पूछते हैं that has the process of modernization completed in India. So I'll let you be the judge of that. So most of you will probably come to the conclusion that this process is still undergoing. अभी भी ये process complete नहीं हुआ है. हाँ, लेकिन ये याद रखना जरूरी है कि इस process का start कैसे हुआ. What were the factors responsible for this process? So it was facilitated by a number of events and processes such as the establishment of British rule, spread of Western education, development of the Indian press, cultural awakening, and the rise of Indian nationalism. Now, हमने ये देखा कि मॉडर्न इंडिया की शुरुआत कहाँ से होती है, रफली 18th सेंचुरी में. लेकिन अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं कि मॉडर्निटी होता क्या है, तो यूजुअली स्टूडेंट्स जिन्होंने अभी अभी प्रिपरेशन करनी शुरू करी है, उनके जवाब कुछ इस तरह के आते हैं दैट इट इज द यूज ऑफ मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी. कि सोसाइटी में और कल्चर में मॉडर्न नॉर्म्स देखने के लिए मिलते हैं, मॉडर्न आर्ट फॉर्म्स देखने के लिए मिलते हैं, मॉडर्न पॉलिटिकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस देखने के लिए मिलते हैं, मॉडर्न इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम्स देखने के लिए मिलते हैं, एटसेट्रा. कि मॉडर्न अटायर देखने को मिलेगा. अगर धोती पहनी हुई है किसी ने तो वो मेडिवल है, और अगर ट्राउजर्स पहने हुए हैं तो मॉडर्न है. What you need to understand is the most important thing is that modernity exists in the realm of ideas but manifests in the perceptible world. ठीक है, modernity जो है ये ideas की वजह से बनता है, exist करता है, लेकिन ये मैनिफेस्ट कहाँ पे होता है, परसेप्टेबल वर्ल्ड में. तो जो आपने देखा कि मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी, सोशल मोड्स, कल्चरल नॉर्म्स, आर्ट फॉर्म्स, पॉलिटिकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम्स एटसेट्रा, वहां पे ये दिखेगा आपको. बट इसका रूट कॉज क्या है कि आइडियाज मॉडर्न है एंड उसकी वजह से ये चेंजेस आए हैं. वंस दीज आइडियाज डिस्पर्स इन द सोसाइटी, दे टेक रूट एंड स्प्रेड ग्रेजुअली. ठीक है. अच्छा, व्हाट आर दीज आइडियाज जो कि मॉडर्निटी के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है? सो दीज आर द आइडियाज ऑफ द रेनेसां एंड एनलाइटनमेंट. ठीक है, आइडियाज सच एज ह्यूमनिज्म, रैशनलिज्म, साइंटिफिक टेम्पर, लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी, फ्रेटर्निटी, बिलीफ इन द रूल ऑफ लॉ, freedom of speech and expression, right? So these are the kind of ideas which are responsible for modernity. The importance of these ideas comes into greater prominence when you take into account their impact in transforming society. So we will see later on how these ideas were responsible for taking the world from medievalism towards modernism. अच्छा, ये ideas कहाँ पे emerge हुए और कब emerge हुए? So they emerged during the age of Renaissance and Enlightenment in Europe. Age of Renaissance was from the 14th century onwards, beginning from Italy and lasted till about the 16th century. And Age of Enlightenment is usually said to have started around the 17th century up to the 18th century. कहाँ पे हुआ ये? यूरोप में. How did these ideas come to India? They came to India with the Europeans. और इसीलिए जब हम थीम्स ऑफ मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री देखते हैं तो सबसे पहले हम कवर करेंगे द एडवेंट ऑफ यूरोपियंस इन इंडिया. आप अगर यूपीएससी मेंस का सिलेबस उठा के देखें तो जीएस पेपर 1 में अंडर हिस्ट्री बहुत लंबा चौड़ा सिलेबस दिया हुआ है. फॉर आवर पर्पसेस, फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ द एग्जामिनेशन, हमने ये थीम्स डिजाइन करी हुई हैं which we are going to cover one by one and systematically. So these are the themes that we will cover. The advent of Europeans in India, the East India Company, a glimpse into 18th century India, the history of India from Plassey to partition, and finally post-independence India. तो एक एक करके देख लेते हैं कि इन themes में हमें क्या क्या topics cover करने हैं. The first theme, that is advent of Europeans in India, हमको देखना है that who were these Europeans who came to India. For example, we know that the Portuguese, Dutch, British, Danes and French came to India. Why they came to India? कब ये इंडिया में आए, क्या सीक्वेंस था, पहले कौन आया, बाद में कौन आया, एंड वेयर डिड दे लैंड इन इंडिया, इन्होंने कहाँ पे लैंड किया और कहाँ पे अपने सेटलमेंट्स एस्टैब्लिश किए. फर्दर वी विल ऑल्सो सी दैट उस समय ओपन कैपिटलिस्ट सोसाइटीज तो एग्जिस्ट करती नहीं थी. द मोड ऑफ द इकोनॉमी वाज mercantilist and the creation of monopolies was very important. तो ये monopolistic competition की वजह से armed struggle हुआ. कब हुआ? In the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries. किसके बीच में हुआ? those powers who were trying to control the overseas trade of India. 16th century में between the Arabs and the Portuguese. 17th century में there was a tripartite struggle between the Portuguese, Dutch, and British. And in the 18th century, there was an Anglo-French struggle for the control of the eastern coast of India. Right? अब इसके बाद हमको देखना है in very brief the history of the East India Company. इसका formation, establishment कैसे हुआ, कहाँ पे हुआ, कब हुआ, किसने formation किया, who were the stakeholders, what was its purpose, इसका structure क्या था इंडिया में. फॉर एग्जाम्पल फैक्ट्रीज होती थी, तो फैक्ट्रीज के एम्प्लॉयज को क्या बोला जाता था, they had factors, writers and traders. Then there were deputy governors. लंदन में जो गवर्निंग बॉडी होती थी, that is the court of directors, what was the relationship that it had with the British government and how it changed over time. Further, we are going to take a glimpse into the 18th century India. तो 18th century India में हमको एक झलक लेनी है. 18th century India was a century of transformation. The Mughal Empire was declining and the political, social and economic conditions were rapidly transforming. A number of regional kingdoms, such as the successor and rebel states of the Mughals, had started establishing themselves. We will also be looking at the competition for supremacy that these kingdoms had with each other and with the British. Right? तो ये सारी चीजें हमको इस थीम के अंदर कवर करनी है. प्लासी टू पार्टीशन हमने देखा, 3 पार्ट्स में हम बांट सकते हैं. The earliest phase was the establishment of British supremacy over Bengal through the battles of Plassey and Buxar, along with the Treaty of Allahabad. This resulted in the creation of dual government of Bengal from 1765 to 1772. After this, we are going to take a look at the history of governor generals from 1772 to 1784. यहाँ पे हम कवर करेंगे expansion of British rule in India, how the British one by one overcame all of their Indian rivals such as the Marathas, Mysore, the Sikhs and Sindh, etc. We are also going to take a look at the structure of the government, their economic, social and cultural policies as well. तो यहाँ पे हम ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट ने इंडिया में जितने लॉज बनाए हैं, जो भी लैंड रेवेन्यू सिस्टम्स इंट्रोड्यूस किए हैं, कल्चरल पॉलिसीज या फिर सोशल पॉलिसीज इंट्रोड्यूस करी हैं, उनके बारे में पढ़ेंगे और उनके इम्पैक्ट को भी देखेंगे. वी आर ऑल्सो गोइंग टू कंडक्ट अ स्टडी ऑफ द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इंडियन प्रेस एंड एजुकेशन. एंड फाइनली वी आर गोइंग टू टेक अ लुक एट द इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट ऑफ ब्रिटिश रूल इन इंडिया. राइट. Once we are done with this, we are going to look at the Indian response. We know कि British rule in India एक साथ नहीं establish हुआ था. It wasn't established in one fell sweep. It was an incremental exercise, right? तो धीरे धीरे ये बढ़ा था. And जब भी एक नया region British के हाथ में जाता था, तो वहाँ पे एक civil या tribal uprising होती थी. तो हमें इनको भी पढ़ना है. Now, this sequence of civilian and tribal uprisings culminated in the Great Revolt of 1857. तो हमें इसके causes and effects को investigate करना है. Further, during the 19th century, the very important process of cultural awakening took place in India through the social and religious reform movements of the 19th century. यहाँ पे हमको देखना है that what were the issues involved which necessitated such social religious reforms. What were the ideas which inspired these reforms? Who were the individuals and institutions associated with these reforms? And what was the impact of these reforms? Then we are going to look at the nationalist awakening or the rise of Indian nationalism. इसके पीछे factors क्या थे और इसके effects क्या हुए? The maturation of the Indian nationalism was reflected in the formation of the Indian National Congress, which is generally considered to be the beginning of the Indian national movement in 1885. अब national movement के 4 phases हमको cover करने हैं. The moderate, extremist, Gandhian and socialist phase, which resulted in freedom and partition. अब अगर partition की बात हम कर रहे हैं, so we cannot ignore the issue of the rise of communalism and separatist movement. Apart from the mainstream national movement of the Congress, there were also other streams which ran parallelly. These included the revolutionary extremist movement, the peasant movements, and movements of the working class. Although they were not part of the mainstream national movement, they were not completely separate. They were both affected by and also affected the mainstream national movement of the Congress. So हमें ये relationship भी explore करना है. Right. Finally, we are going to also study the role of some important personalities in the freedom struggle, including the role of women and the contribution of foreigners, including the British. And thus we'll come to the last part of the last theme of modern Indian history, that is post-independence India. So after India got independence, a number of issues arose, such as the refugee issues. तो partition हुआ था, कई सारे refugees पाकिस्तान से इंडिया आए थे, इनको resettle करना था. They had suffered a lot of hardship to rehabilitate करना था. To the problems that they faced and how successful was the process of rehabilitation and resettlement, इसको भी analyze करना पड़ेगा. Then one of the major issues just after independence was the merger of princely states with the Indian Union. तो अंग्रेजों ने जब इंडिया को इंडिपेंडेंस दिया, तो जो प्रिंसली स्टेट्स थे उनको 3 ऑप्शंस दिए थे, that they could either join India or Pakistan or remain independent. So in order to preserve the unity, integrity and territorial contiguity of India, it was essential कि जो भी princely states India के contiguous region में आ रहे हैं वो Indian Union से merge करें. So we will pay special attention to 3 states जहाँ पे merger थोड़ा problematic था, that is Kashmir, Junagadh and Hyderabad. Then we'll also study about the first direct elections of India 1951-1952. So it was a huge undertaking. पहली बार universal adult franchise मिला था, and this was the first time that direct elections were being conducted in order to elect a true popular government in India. Achha. Then we are also going to be covering other issues such as the tribal issues, tribal policy of post-independent India, land reforms, the issue of reorganization of states. तो इसके ऊपर भी काफी डिस्कशन हुआ था, काफी प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट हुई थी. दी डिमांड फॉर लिंग्विस्टिक रिऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेट्स, अलग अलग कमिटीज बनी, हम ये भी देखेंगे. एंड फाइनली अनदर प्रॉब्लमैटिक इशू वाज द इशू ऑफ नेशनल लैंग्वेज. तो इसकी वजह से भी इंडिया की यूनिटी और इंटीग्रिटी थ्रेटन हुई थी, एंड वी विल सी हाउ दैट वाज रिजॉल्व्ड एंड टू व्हाट इफेक्ट. नाउ एक चीज ध्यान रखिएगा कि यूपीएससी मेंस में 2 तरह के क्वेश्चंस पूछती है. वन आर थीमेटिक and the other are topical. ठीक है, तो thematic questions जो होंगे वो पूरी की पूरी एक थीम को कवर करेंगे. For example, one of the themes in modern Indian history is the economic impact of British rule in India. तो क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि highlight the economic impact of British rule in India. और अगर उसमें से ही एक टॉपिकल क्वेश्चन बनाना हो तो यूपीएससी वो भी कर सकती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इट कैन आस्क यू कि द पॉलिसी ऑफ परमानेंट सेटलमेंट, हाउ डिड दैट अफेक्ट द इकोनॉमी ऑफ इंडिया. एंड आवर पर्पस इज टू enable you to answer both these types of questions. एक क्वेश्चन और स्टूडेंट्स यूजुअली पूछते हैं कि किताबें कौन सी रेफर करनी है. तो माय सजेशन टू यू इज स्टार्ट विद द एनसीईआरटीज. हमने अपने बिगिनर सेशन में एक बुक लिस्ट आपको दी थी, तो यू कैन लुक एट दैट. उसमें किताबों के नाम मेंशन है. एनसीईआरटी से शुरू कीजिए, एंड मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री के लिए उसके अलावा आप पढ़ सकते हैं स्पेक्ट्रम की किताब एंड बिपिन चंद्रा की किताब आप पढ़ सकते हैं, दैट इज इंडिया स्ट्रगल फॉर इंडिपेंडेंस 1857 to 1947. Thank you for joining us. We will see you with the next lecture very soon.